Really quickly, after I shot this video, which you're about to see, President Trump issued the executive order going through the administrative agencies, DOJ, all that kind of stuff about the Second Amendment. Attorney General Pam Bondi, the subject of this video, then issued her own release and so forth. This video is steered looking at her history and her track record. This is obviously very promising as far as developments go, but what really matters is not the intention of what happens. What really matters is what is the effect. So I am cheering for Attorney General Bondi. I want to be emphatically clear about that. And I want to make sure that people know that, yes, I am aware of these developments. This is meant to look at her track record as a means of predicting the future. So with that out of the way, here we go with the video. We have a new United States Attorney General, that is Pam Bondi, who has now just been confirmed by the United States Senate. And for better or worse, she has a bit of a checkered record when we're talking about the Second Amendment. Now, this is effectively the top cop when it comes to the federal government. This is also the person who's going to be offering legal advice to President Trump, as well as other heads of state and departmental government bodies. So, this is a really important position because her views could be echoed across all the halls of DC. And frankly, I didn't really know what was going on here. I heard a lot of things saying she's anti-gun, she's pro-gun, what's going on. In this video, I'm not drawing conclusions. I'm just giving you the record and what I've got. You be the one to make the judge. So guys, let's get into it. All right, so we're going to start off by showing you a handful of clips. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a record, and then my wrap-up is, as already said before, just saying, look, you be the judge. Let's roll clip number one.
When I was a young prosecutor, way before I was Attorney General, I was in my early 20s, I had a stalker for years. I don't talk about it a lot, but I learned to shoot from law enforcement. They taught me to shoot because I didn't have the luxuries that Hillary Clinton has, that Joe Biden has, of full-time protection. And I had to learn to shoot a gun to protect myself. My stalker ultimately committed suicide. That's how serious it was. But I deserve the right to protect myself, as do all Americans in their homes, to be safe.
All right, well, clip number one, that sounds pretty good. We want people to be able to stand up for the fact that there's a lot of creepy folks out there, and that doesn't mean that you need to be an unarmed victim. Let's roll clip number two.
There are 24 states that are pushing bills that would allow for guns to be taken away from people who are judged mentally unfit. Now, I don't know whether Florida is one of those states, but what do you think about that kind of move?
Well, here's what we're doing in Florida, because we have to have due process, of course, for those who have been civilly committed. And my office, we've done all the legal research, and here's what our proposal is in Florida. It's called the Gun Violence Restraining Order. And so, Stuart, if you're civilly committed, in Florida it's called a Baker Act, what will happen is law enforcement can and should automatically remove any firearms, because that shows you're a danger to yourself or others when you're civilly committed. Then after someone is released from civil commitment, law enforcement will have 72 hours to go before a judge and ask the judge if they choose to hold those guns even longer if they feel that the person is, again, a threat to themselves or to others.
Hey, really quickly, two things. Number one, if you're enjoying this video, of course, all the YouTube things, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Number two, we've got a sponsor for this video, and that's my law firm. It takes me, I think, as you can guess, a fair amount of time to research for these videos, put them together, come and film them, all that kind of good stuff. Not to mention Derek, our brave videographer and editor, who is, of course, working full-time for the law firm to come in and do all that kind of good stuff as well. So something you can do if you're enjoying our legal education content is please consider giving our Google My Business page for the law firm a 5-star review. It's something that really helps out the practice, which at the end of the day allows me to come here and play internet lawyer for you. So it's absolutely free, takes a few moments. Just check it out in the pinned comment below. It's also in the description box. Follow the link. It asks you to rate us on 0 to 5 stars. Keep in mind, this is the internet. 3-4 stars, kind of a failing grade. So if you felt like you get good, decent legal education content, please consider leaving a 5-star review. I appreciate it very, very much. Now back to the program. Let's wrap this up by rolling our last clip.
I am
pro-Second Amendment. I have always been pro-Second Amendment. I will follow the laws of my state of Florida and our country, of course, regarding any gun laws. I worked that shooting, meaning I was there when 17 family members were notified. I was there, that their children were also Pulse nightclub. I also went to Nevada to help with the MGM shooting. The Attorney General at the time asked me to come out there. I believe over 60 people were there. I am an advocate for the Second Amendment, but I will enforce the laws of the land.
So let's be clear. While she's generally at a minimum very much in favor of the Second Amendment, there are some chinks in the armor, and that understandably, given her extremely high position in government, as someone who literally controls and influences federal prosecutions, what the FBI could be looking into, all that kind of stuff, combined with having the president's ear, this is an extremely important position because those chinks in the armor, number one, those are the only ones that we know of. What else do they extend to? Do we have her on the record when it comes to pistol braces, bump stocks, AR-15s, all that kind of stuff? I'm sure that there's instances out there. I'm just throwing those out there as examples of future concerns. Let's take a look at some of these specific issues. Number one, we're looking at support for red flag laws. So Bondi supported and defended Florida's red flag law back in 2018, which allows law enforcement to petition courts to seize firearms from individuals deemed a threat to themselves or others. I'm not here to argue for or against extreme risk protection orders, i.e. red flag laws. Again, I'm just putting the record out there. The law was ultimately passed after, of course, the Parkland school shooting and was seen as a major gun control victory in Florida. Number two, support for gun control after the Parkland school shooting. Following the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, Bondi backed several gun control measures included in the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act in Florida. That's Senate Bill 7026. This law raised the minimum age to buy a rifle from 18 to 21. Now, again, I will try to not editorialize. It imposed a 3-day waiting period on firearm purchases, and it banned bump stocks. The National Rifle Association and other gun rights activist groups strongly opposed these measures, calling them unconstitutional. Number three. Now, in no small part, as a result of all those positions and her support for those laws, Bondi was roundly criticized by gun rights groups such as Gun Owners of America, fantastic organization, everybody should check them out, as well as Florida Carry, for supporting laws that, of course, expanded gun control and aligned her and the Republican Party with elements of gun control. Given her high-ranking position in Florida of, again, she was the equivalent to the Attorney General, which the job she has now, except in Florida at the time. That's a very persuasive position. People in the equivalent of the Florida legislature will look to the Attorney General's office for guidance on, hey, is this constitutional, is this not? I assure you, not every member of a state legislature, or for that matter, federal, is a strict constitutionalist. They don't know Second Amendment history, law. They're not well versed in these issues. There's probably a number that are, but that number is probably, unfortunately, the vast minority. So many of them who might be soft on these issues, yeah, on the campaign trail, they're going to be aligned. But when they get to the state capitol, different questions, right? They're going to turn to who they view as an ally, somebody who's openly espoused being pro-gun, who's the Attorney General. They're going to look at that person for guidance. And when that person says, yeah, this is totally good to go, that's going to be a lot easier to vote for gun control. Not only because in their own mind, they're going to say, oh, well, I guess this is okay because we have a pro-gun attorney who's the Attorney General saying this is fine, but it's also going to give folks political cover for those sorts of votes. Again, this is the insider baseball about how things work and about why these things matter, even if they may not on paper have a vote in Congress. Number four, no action on constitutional carry. So at this point, the vast majority of the states have some form of constitutional permitless carry. So during her tenure as Attorney General in Florida, many states began to pass some form of constitutional carry or permitless carry. In other words, you do not need to jump through hoops and pay to get a special piece of plastic saying that you can exercise your constitutional right to go armed in public. Now, Florida did not pass constitutional carry despite many efforts for many pro-gun Florida legislators. Bondi did not. She failed to publicly support such efforts, which frustrated, understandably so, many Second Amendment advocates, both in Florida and outside of Florida. Number 5, the defense of gun rights and the status quo. Now, I just hit her on a bunch of different things, and I want to close on this part because I don't want people to lose sight of the forest here. Despite Bondi's support for some gun control measures, Bondi did defend Florida's stand your ground law, which protects individuals who, of course, have to use firearms in self-defense. She also opposed federal overreach in some gun-related cases, such as attempts to restrict certain types of firearms or accessories, notwithstanding her support for the bump stock ban. All right, so where does that leave us on Pam Bondi? Well, again, you be the judge, but here's the way I see it. She's definitely someone who's on our side, and I don't make this call on the basis of does she have an R or a D or an L or whatever next to her name. Hopefully you know that I'm not here to cheer for Team Blue, Team Yellow, Team Red, Team whatever. I'm Team 2A. She definitely falls short of someone that I would try to cook up in a lab as being the ideal. I'm sure she also falls short of many of the expectations and hopes that we would have for someone to occupy such a tremendously important and influential position. She is understandably criticized for her public positions that she has taken across her political life in the last 10 years. Most politicians, when they go to DC, they don't get better. They tend to get worse when it comes to things like the Second Amendment and core individual rights. My concern is if this is how she survived and navigated this road in Florida, how much worse might this be in DC? I'm wholeheartedly cheering for her to be making the right decisions as she moves forward. I just hope that her future, combined with Washington, D.C.'s notorious influence, doesn't look anything like her past. This one comes from controversial, understandably so, French thinker Voltaire, who once said, "Appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well." Be sure to hit that like button. I will check out your comments in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.